So the research that we look at is the difference between guessing and knowing what's going to deliver those bookings. And I want you all to think about starting the year with a customer survey of your existing customers. So everybody here will have their existing customers or a few, or even if you're starting a new business, I know I've got some people with us that are doing that. You've got a few emails, and look, even if you've only got a couple of people on your database, I want you to start doing this. So in order to go through this process, you're going to need to be able to send out emails to people, and we're going to use ChatGPT to create a survey, which is super exciting. And it's so easy now. So again, this is something as a researcher I used to do manually, and sometimes I'd allow up to a week to strategize and think about and discuss with my clients what is it that they wanted to ask in a survey. And now at the press of a button, I can have it in less than a minute, and I'll show you how to do that. But this is a terrific way to start your year and to really help frame those goals for 2025. And sometimes, I think I touched on it yesterday, you think what your customer wants because you're sitting with your product, you obsess about it all the time, you're day in, day out working in your business, but your customers aren't. They're not obsessing over your business like you are. So sometimes it's quite startling to see what they think about your product or service or travel in general. So that's why it's really good to get some clarity and some objective knowledge about what's going on, where they want to go, how they're feeling. So a quick survey can reveal things like where they want to go in 2025 and 2026. So I'd go for the next 2 years in planning. Ask them how much they're planning to spend. Do they have a travel budget for the next couple of years? And you'll find that people, the most profitable travelers, tend to allocate a budget to travel. Some don't, but yeah, they'll tend to say, oh, we're budgeting this much money for this year and next year, and break it down. And just any barriers that's stopping them from booking now. You've got to ask yourself. So I want to ask you here and now, has anyone ever, while you're booking customers or just when you've booked, have you ever asked what they want for the next trip? Want to pop that in the chat? You see what's happening here. Can't see my comments. Yeah, it really pays when you're booking to ask them where they're thinking about next, because I can guarantee they are thinking about their next trip while they've just paid you for their current trip. So how many people in the room, if you could put a 1 in the chat, if you've ever had several bookings going at once for your clients? Yes, always, Ellen. Yep, great. Great. And that's what we're going to strive for, because more and more they are having multiple trips planned and booked at any one time. So they're always looking out for the deals, and that's generally to actually book up to 2 years. But as I mentioned yesterday, I'm seeing travelers up to 10 years planning their travel, and they have some pretty mean spreadsheets. Let me tell you, the spreadsheets, the apps, they're all over it. And you've got to remember, some of these people thrived on spreadsheets during their work life, so they've got a spreadsheet for everything. So I interviewed a guy the other day. His name was Phil, and his job was to all the Army's uniforms. And it wasn't until very recently that his ordering process came off Excel into an app, which I find extraordinary. It does, Sonia. It gives them, like I said, this is a hobby. They find as much joy in the planning as the trip itself, regardless of whether or not they're booking with a travel agent or booking direct. They just absolutely love the planning. And we've just got to remember that they put those hundreds of hours into the planning. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is are you all signed into ChatGPT? let me just, let's have a look. And again, next week, so when we go do our coaching call next week, I'm going to show you some really great questions to ask, but this is just an overview to show you what to do at the surface level. Okay, so sign into ChatGPT, and I'll show you what I do. Okay, let me just share my screen. Let me get rid of that. Okay. My computer is so slow this morning. I feel like I'm in dial-up mode. Okay, so I'm starting a new chat. So you can see my ChatGPT screen. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste. So this is as complicated as it gets. I'm a travel professional looking to survey my customers about their travel plans for 2025. Put 2026 in there, see if that matters. Create a survey that asks about destinations, budgets, motivations, and barriers. Does anyone else want to put anything I haven't thought of in there? Or let's start with this one and see what it gives us. It gives you an introduction. Just general. We can put specific destinations. You can put countries in here. I'd actually up these because we know people are spending a lot more than this. Relaxation, cultural experiences. Yep, we can select up, or we can ask people to order them. And this is something that we're going to do next week, is create a survey together to send out to that database to find out a little bit more information. Budget constraints. I possibly would not even talk about budget, and you're about to discover why in a moment. Or I would, but I wouldn't position it as a constraint, because we know that the high value travelers are actually seeking to spend their money on memories and experiences rather than things. Although they seem to be spending a lot of money on those massive cars, which is bizarre as well. I think it's all about carting their caravans around. What is your age group? We can pretty well know most of them will probably sit from here up. Who do you want to travel with? You can put group tours, small group tours, friends, family. We can add things, multi-generational tours in here. How do you usually book a trip? Airlines, through travel agent, OTAs. I would probably put some with a travel agent, some myself, because that is something that I'm seeing in my research more and more, is that travelers are saying, oh, sometimes I'll book complex trips with my agent, but if it's just a package, I'll just book it online by myself. So we want to find out if many of your clients are doing that, and then we can come up with a strategy to get those bookings that they're doing themselves as they become more confident. So there we go. So this is 15 questions. There are apps out there that allow for you to plug these in. Has anybody sent a survey before to their clients? Can you give me a 1 in the chat? Have you sent a survey out? Okay. Can I ask, how did you send it out? Just free form, if you can put it in the chat. Did you use SurveyMonkey? Was a PDF? A Google form? Yep. Google Forms are pretty good, actually. I might explore those because, again, it's free for Google Form. But I use something called SurveyMonkey, where probably everybody here has done a SurveyMonkey survey before. Possibly your CRM system has a survey. Does MailerLite have something like that, Phil? Probably not. Possibly not.
Haven't investigated.
Yeah, so basically we need to find a place to put our survey. I use SurveyMonkey. They have a free version. So can you see my screen there? The SurveyMonkey? Let's just see. Gosh, sorry, it's so slow today. Oh, Sarah, with HubSpot, let's chat down the track. HubSpot gets really expensive really quickly, and it's quite a massive learning curve. So let's chat about that down the track. It's really, I love HubSpot. It is actually, it's fabulous as a CRM. It is gold standard. It's fabulous as a CRM and it's fabulous as a sales tracker as well. But yeah, I'd love to chat to you about that maybe next week. Anyway, so where was I? Google Forms, yep, for surveys. Absolutely. So what I might do now is just show you how. Okay, so are you planning to travel? Yes, no, maybe. How many trips? What I might not want to know is, I'll just say I want more options. So what I'm going to do is put in one of my reports here, 8 stages. Okay, I'm going to put the content pillars in. So we're going to talk about content pillars a little bit later today or tomorrow. And essentially, these are the reasons people travel. This is the stuff they want to know about in the traveler customer journey. So I'm putting some of my content pillars in here and I'm going to ask it to incorporate. Because these people travel. So that's what let's see what it comes back with. We've got a few more of these. Hidden gems. We're going to use it in this purpose because people know what a hidden gem is. Motivations is great. So can you see the difference once we've added research and why people travel? You're just going to get a much richer picture of what they're looking for. And this is really important in terms of if you're niching down, for example, for music, or Angelo, you've got your trips to Greece for couples. Is it all about reconnecting with loved ones, accommodation styles as well? The thing that we see as well, which is really interesting, is they're willing to trade up and trade down as well when it comes to accommodation. pay $1,000 a night somewhere for a couple of nights, and then they'll pay 100 or 200 for a cheapie. Having a luxury or a budget traveler, yeah, it's possible, but they're doing a bit of both, and especially the baby boomers coming through right now. So yeah, all right. Let me go, and I'm going to ask some questions. Okay, your pillars are in the travel marketing machine, and I'm going to give you all of those next week so that you can bring them into your own prompting. So I've collated them all now. You'll be getting them next week. Okay. Does anyone want to know anything? Yes, it's part of the course. Yeah, part of the course. And it's the research. I've created a new one based on all the latest research and the interviews. Does anyone have anything in particular that you want to explore? That's okay, Jane. So can I ask why you use chat? Jane, yeah, look, I answer, this is a common question I get all the time. I just chose one and went deep because, again, you can learn all different ones, but why? You're wasting your time. They're all pretty good. They all pretty much do the same thing. Some are better at some things than other things. Claude, people love Claude. People love ChatGPT. People love or hate Perplexity. But it doesn't matter. I use ChatGPT because they were the first. They're the biggest. They're the most common. It's what my coaches teach me on ChatGPT. So I figure if the AI gurus mentoring everybody on ChatGPT, that's the way to go. Yes, the paid version is definitely well worth it. So there's things that we're going to be doing in this course, in the Travel Marketing Machine course. We're going to be building our own custom GPTs. So you can only do that on ChatGPT 4, the paid version. It's just a better quality of output. You get the updates first. They're continuously updating. Every single week there's an update. You get access to all sorts of things that they're pushing out. Both are good. You can have, but for $20 a month, it's the best $20 a month. And just with anything, just focus on one and go deep. Learn it back to front rather than trying them all. Because I've tried them all. Yeah, Deb, it's the same with me. ChatGPT is intuitive. You only have, as Sarah pointed out, X amount of headspace. I try things all the time so that you don't have to. So I will try different apps that are out there, and sometimes I'm like, oh, too hard, or yeah, I do. I love them. That's all right. That's fine, Jane. It's ask questions all the way through. So on the survey, does anybody want to have a go themselves? I'd like you to give it a crack, and this is something that you can do on the paid or free version. And I want you to type the name of your business into it. Okay? So let me show you again. And I'm going to show you how I use chat. So if you download it on phone, you've got a microphone. This is an app that I use, which is really awesome. And again, this is something that I have just discovered that I can pass on to you. It's called Voicey. So don't download it now. It's a Chrome extension. But I've tried many voice to text prompting for ChatGPT, and this is relatively new one, but it's the best one so far. So that is something that you might want to consider adding on. So I'll show you what I do now. We might go back into Wayfinder. And I'll show you how. Yesterday, this is the one. Here we go. So Wayfinder. Okay. I want to create a survey for my Wayfinder travel email database for women. And I want to ask them about their travel plans for 2021 and 2025. I want to ask about the experiences, the destinations, their budgets, their dreams, their plans, what they need to help them plan their travel, who they want to travel with, etc. I want you to work on the knowledge base for information on the types of things to ask, but also what I have just asked for you to do. Have a look at that. So you've just saved more time. So if you weren't with us yesterday or you're still catching up, we created for Sarah some goals for Wayfinder Travel. So Sarah is in our program, the Travel Marketing Machine. And so we've created for Sarah her own custom GPT. And that is something that I'm going to do with everybody in the program this year. I'm going to help you create your own custom GPT with my research for your business. So at the moment, we're all using the Travel Marketing Machine. But as AI and generative AI progresses and you progress, I want to teach you how to create your own and drive your own. So that's what we've done here for Sarah. So it has information on Wayfinder Travel. We've just primed it yesterday. We're talking about setting goals and targets. So I'm assuming it's going to refer to what we had there yesterday, but let's wait and see. Searching my knowledge base. And I think, Sarah, this is awesome for you while you're in that itinerary creation stage. So you've been out there, you've sourced all of the destinations, the product experiences, the suppliers, and now you can ask the most important people exactly what they want and come together, and it's going to create a stellar product. It knows over 50s.
Fantastic. When I last did one, which admittedly was a while ago, it probably took me 2 or 3 hours to come up with all the questions and put it all together. And this has done it in a fraction of the time.
Done it. And you can put it into Google Forms. So what I will ask it now on this little microphone, this is great. Can you give me a step-by-step instruction on how to transfer this survey into Google Forms? You can talk naturally into it. I'm just talking into it like an old person. You don't have to talk like that. So here we go. Pretty impressive, isn't it? What are you thinking?
Fantastic.
Isn't it amazing?
It is.
Can everyone see here what's possible? Yes, I do have tips, and that's something we'll focus on more next week. We're going to go into hardcore survey mode. I'll just check out these questions. You've started, and I started off a bit boring, but I'm asking, yep, 2025, 26. Yep, definitely can change it. On face, I joined this spend kids inheritance. Do you know what? Social media, those groups are really awesome for research, for researching what your customers want. So Sonia's brought up a really fantastic way to find out what travelers are thinking, talking to each other about. They tend to be more honest with each other. There's a travel group for everything. Have you seen these? Have you all seen these? I'm on a lot of travel groups for solo travelers right now because that is something that I'm really interested in. So there's solo travelers for women over 50, just solo travelers, and there are hundreds of thousands of people inside these groups. It's incredible. So yeah, the Spend the Kids Inheritance, that's a great way to research travelers. Sarah, you are creating your own groups. Are you on other groups as well?
I'm in a few, though I've lost track. I have to keep going back to my list of groups to remind myself. So I think I need to filter it a bit.
Yeah, that's all right. Not too many. Just focus on
That's
action.
it.
Focus on taking action and completing 3 of those tasks every day. Phil, you're in a few groups. Tell me about yours and how you find information.
Yeah, I'm a bit like Sarah. The groups that I belong to, they tend to ask generic questions. So it's good in that respect, but I've got one group that I get notifications for
Yep.
quite a lot, which is good because it keeps me on top of what's happening in that group. But other groups I just every now and then have a look at.
Yeah. They're a great source. They're a really good source on
Yeah, for sure.
blog
Yeah.
post stories. You can see what they're all talking about. So I do have tips on how to get people to take a survey. That is incentivizing them. And one of the things that we're really lucky here is that we're researching travel, not travel and insurance, not insurance or washing powder. Or once I was doing a set of focus groups next to another lot of researchers doing focus groups on Viva paper towel. And I thought, how in the hell are you going to get 2 hours in a focus group about Viva paper towel? I just thought, how boring. So we're really lucky we're not trying to sell Viva paper towel. I've also seen the evil people that do focus groups on cigarettes and smokers as well, and gambling. So there's all sorts of qualitative research being done. But incentivizing, no, it's actually quite funny, the Viva paper towel story. So incentivizing, very simple. What works is something for free, or you can give away a trip if you have a friendly supplier. You can give $500 credit towards your next trip. So whenever I've done research of this type, I have given $1,000 flight center voucher or $1,000 Visa cards. We can do those now. So yeah, just whatever you can budget, if there's got to be something in it for them. So that's a really awesome question. So in these surveys, there are a place for you to collect that personal information. It's always good to make sure it cannot be tracked back to the answers. And there's ways that you can do that in this software. And there are also little number randomizers that you can use to randomly select that person. Now, if you're sending out a survey, you don't have to go off and get a license if you have in what they call a game of skill. So what that means is at the end of the question, at the end of the survey, you have a game of skill. So what that means, it is a question that is, what is the capital of France? And you give them 3 options: London, Paris, or Sydney. So it's very obvious. And that is a loophole how you can get around getting all the licenses in each state. Again, that's something that I can help you pull together. So whenever you're sending out your own survey, put that at the end. They don't pick on people like us at all, generally, but it's more the big ones. But if you're offering an incentive, you generally need to have that game of skill in there. So what in the chat is going to be your incentive? Can you think of something that you can give, or do you have friendly suppliers? Anyone? Yes. Champagne. Yep. Value off. Yep. Coffee cards. Absolutely. Yeah. You can't discount, that's fine, but you could possibly, yeah, you give something. And the thing is, don't discount. That's really not an incentive. You've got to give something for free. You can reposition that as a $500 credit towards my tour, whatever you can afford. There we go. All right. So can everyone see what we did for Sarah? So I'm going to go through some of those questions. So it's taken what we know about Wayfinder travel, what it knows about the stuff they want to hear about from the PDF that I just put in there. And we know that they love cultural immersion. They love a bit of adventure, wellness. Personal growth and self-discovery is really important for Sarah's clients for many reasons. Some social and community-based travel. This is awesome because it is very well known that the over 50s, in particular women, all have dreams of going off to do some orphanage work or volunteering in places like that. And that is something that you can include, but that you need to be responsible because, and this is something that you can talk about in your blog, Sarah, that whenever we do this type of tourism, it's actually called orphanage tourism, you don't want to be indirectly promoting child slavery because that's come from the Save the Children Foundation. It's so with people wanting to contribute to orphanages, it's created an entire underground industry where there are fake orphanages created as money-making opportunities. So someone like Sarah, I can put you in touch with Save the Children. They'll advise on the orphanages or any of the not-for-profits to work with that are known to be legit. So these are sorts of things you can post up on your blog. So the destinations, budget, again, I'd go higher, milestones, meeting new people, self-improvement. This is a biggie. We know from the research that people come back different. They want to come back a better person for having travelled. So this is a really nice little survey that you could send out. And this is really interesting for you to find out too. I do all the research and booking myself. I use a travel agency. And again, I'd put in a couple of extra questions of, you could call it a hybrid. I research and book through my agency, my travel agency, or I do a bit of both. Challenges like that. There we go. Safety tips. I like it. Woolies vouchers, yeah. Yeah, it is shocking, Catherine. Catherine does trips to India, and I'm sure you see it over there as well, for sure. So that's something to really watch out for. Okay, so Has somebody just done this exercise? I'd like to know. Does anyone want to give it a crack? I'm going to say yes, do it. Is everybody, can you give me a 1 if you are not signed into ChatGPT? Yes, Jane, that's correct. That's why it's good to work on 1, because it gets to know you. ChatGPT has a memory. Especially, I think it's only in ChatGPT 4. Actually, no, it's in both now. And you've got to make sure you've got your memory turned on. And that's in the settings. That's okay, Sonia. You've got travel clients. So this program is not just for travel agents. You can do this if you have accommodation, a tour operation, absolutely anything.
Phone to Christine Dayan. Interesting.
Hello.
I took the approach, I wrote down everything, and I said, look, it's not even a decision yet. This is how big a gossip she is. Wait till I tell you something.
Oh, hang on. Who's been?
I said, but I just want to run through the stuff because you're very.
It's Michelle. That's really funny. She's got no idea. Sorry.
So, Bron, with the survey, should we be asking it in the same session that we started doing our goals in, or in a new one?
Yeah, give it a go. You can try both, Phil, and I would actually position it as, tell it, I'm going to create a customer survey to send to my email database. This survey is going to help me achieve my goals.
Okay.
So the more information, the more context you give it, the better answer it's going to give you. Look, it does remember. It remembers. Yes, and you can ask it. You can say, on a new chat, I want you to remember what we talked about yesterday, and it will remember it. It's just getting better and better every single day, ChatGPT. Doesn't matter which ChatGPT you use. Yep, so you've got ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 1, and you've got the mini. The ones that I use most of the time is just the normal chat. The most powerful, and this is something fairly new, is ChatGPT 1. And let me show you where that lives. And this is really good to do when you are doing something strategic. If you are creating strategies, let me just move this little box. I'll go into just normal ChatGPT. If you can see my screen there, great for most tasks, used advanced reasoning. So if you are creating some sort of a strategy, if you are creating your goals, so if you want to go back and revisit your goals, you can go into ChatGPT 1. And this is what I used for my goals. Again, this is advanced stuff. There's so much that I can teach, but O1 uses reasoning, really advanced reasoning. So if you were struggling with that goals exercise, it would pay to go in here. And the mini is just faster. And you'll see up here ChatGPT 1. It costs more credits, whatever they use. So sometimes I'm using ChatGPT 1 for something, and then what it does is after a couple of hours, I've used my credits and it just reverts back to 4. But it's really good if you're going to do some deep strategic work, which I think off the back of this, it would pay to do that. Even if you wanted to spend some of your credits in doing the surveys as well, that would be a good use of using ChatGPT 1. Yeah, yours doesn't have those options. Are you on the paid version, Jane, or are you on the free? Yeah, free. So you'd need to get onto that one. You need ChatGPT 4. Okay, so the paid one. Okay. So Is everyone okay with that? Is this something you want to go off and have a play with? Do you have people, if you don't have people that you can send this to, can you let me know? Just type 1 in the chat if you don't have any clients to send this to. This is super, super important. Start with this, and it will just match your dreams in your head. So you're creating beautiful products, you're creating beautiful stays, accommodation, tours. You do have a good sense of what your clients want, but this will actually close the gap. It'll close the circle and you'll have the customer feedback. So with your incredible experiences and your customer voice, you are going to create incredible products that will resonate with your ideal traveler. Okay? Why? I'm interested, Catherine, if you can take yourself off mute. Why do you think a survey is not right for your business? Tell me the stage of your business that you're at.
Hey, everybody. Hi. Look, Bron, just because my itineraries, I'm not changing them for anyone. Sorry.
Fair enough.
I lived in India for 6 years. I know what I want to show you. I know how to do it. I do slow travel. I can't see a real benefit for me in that because I know obviously I have to find the customers who want what I'm offering, but I can't see feedback from past travelers, I suppose, could be useful. Maybe. Hadn't thought of that.
Absolutely. I think you're traveling very reckless and dangerous from a researcher perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess see my database is pretty much mostly people who've traveled with me before.
They
So
love you, but they might have ideas and feedback. And if you
yeah.
don't listen to that feedback, you're going to fail. Like if it's not on what they want, it's not going to happen because I know you are so in touch with your clients and your travelers.
We're looking for new ones because most of
You're
them,
looking for new ones.
they're probably not coming again, you know.
What you can do, you don't know that. You don't know.
I mean, I suppose what I could do.
And they have friends, referrals.
Yeah.
What you can ask and reframe it, what they love about your tours. Because that is something that you can use in your marketing.
Yeah.
And that's what the big brands do.
Okay.
So they'll send out customer satisfaction surveys and ask, what is it you love about the experience and the brand? And those little nuggets are used in all sorts of promotional campaigns because that's why people keep coming back.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just on that page of thinking hotels and this and that, and I thought, oh,
No, and I can guarantee it's not going to be to do. People
I'm
at the
not
end of the
changing.
day don't care about the hotel. They care about the hotels. They care less about the functional product. So the hotels, the transport options. They care more about what's going to happen to me when I go on one of your tour. How is that going to change me? What sort of a person am I going to be when I come back? What are you going to show me having lived there that someone else can't show me? That is why people are going to be traveling with you. And so you need to find out, one, are you missing something? And two, what is it that they love about you? And always ask the question of, would you recommend to friends or family as well?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that's a completely different angle.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I wasn't thinking along those lines. I was just thinking,
you see,
where do you want to go? What do you want to see? This, that. Well, I've already decided that. So.
Yeah, and that's what pretty much all of us have too. But the value that you can add on is the special Catherine perspective.
Yeah.
And to me, I know that if I was traveling with someone, especially a Western woman who's lived there, who's navigated those journeys, navigated India as a woman with wild, curly, sort of blondie red hair in India, I reckon you'd know a thing or two about getting around.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Thanks for that, Bron. That's a different angle. I hadn't thought of that. I was more in my travel agent head thinking,
Yeah.
that's not relevant for me.
We
But
get that. And that's what I love about this group. we all grow together. We're all like-minded. We're all thinking about growth, and stop those limiting beliefs, and always think about the customer. Stop thinking about what you want to do. It's very important. You have to be passionate about what you do. I'm a big believer in that. But the customer is at the center of every single decision you make, and we can never, ever lose sight of that.
Yeah.
And as someone who's ex-Qantas, who was there during the golden era of Qantas, Qantas has made me cry recently. I had my own customer service appalling experience. So it's so important to just remember who we're here for. Got a couple of questions. Liz, yes, I can put that in there. Asking. Yep, absolutely. So Suzanne's asking, will you only do India? What about any new destinations? I think Catherine's totally India.
I'm India. Yeah. Thanks, Suzanne. And it's a great idea. But I think what makes us unique is that we don't take guests anywhere we haven't been ourselves. So
And
when we check into a hotel, I've been there. I know the staff. I know my guides. We've done a massive amount of research to deliver the absolute best experience for our customers. And I can't do that in another destination. I don't have the resources to do that anymore either.
Yeah.
And I offer add-ons within India. An add-on to Sri Lanka or something, or Bhutan could be a great idea. But I think it's too late in my journey in this lifetime, Suzanne, to become a specialist in Bhutan and Sri Lanka as well. I'd rather stick with what I know.
Good. Yeah. And that's really smart.
Is that your slogan? Which one?
I know, I saw it. You're like me, Sonia. I just went, oh my God, this is amazing.
She said, we don't take our guests anywhere we haven't been ourselves. And I just thought, oh my God.
That needs to be front and center on your slider.
That's so cool.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Sonia.
She's not being nice. She's actually helping you make money.
Yeah, I really appreciate you picking that up, because I guess I've said it a million times, but never really realized the potential impact that it might have. So
that's why we get so close to our product and service, remember? We don't see what we have sometimes, and it takes someone else to see what you've got.
Yeah.
So you're thinking this is going to be a small sort of like lazy, easy life for you. I think you could boom.
Really?
Yeah, honestly, what you've got will boom. It will. And I think some of the other operators here are operating in a similar manner. And just remember, there's always room for cross promotion. And there's travel agents here who will sell your tours. And everybody here in this room are going, wow, they sound great.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
But because I do like to keep abreast of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to stay in the bedroom or the lounge while I'm in my office.
Good on you for doing that.
I'm I get distracted too easily.
Yeah. Now, I just want to show you this quick video, and I'm not sure if I can play the video and you can hear it at the same time. So it's a bit of an experiment for me. Let's have a look. Can you hear that music?
Constantly thinking about and reviewing
I don't know.
their success.
It's very quiet.
It's because it's playing from mine.
Subconscious programs and replaying it. Successful people tend to become more successful because they're thinking all the time about their successes. This is critically important. And we talk about this a little bit later, but that's why it's so important to not get around people who are down on themselves, who are complaining or griping about their industry, because these people will drag you.
Can see your screen, Bron.
Can you?
Yeah.
Who are positive,
can you hear that?
And confident and optimistic about what's going on with their business and with their industry, because it makes an enormous difference in how you feel.
I don't think it's working. I'll have to figure that out for tomorrow's session. So
we could hear it.
But just
could hear it, but could see your email. So
okay.
Looking at the wrong screen.
Okay, let me just go in straight into it. Alrighty. So what we're going to do now is not the customer journey, the other one. Let's have a look. Oh, now I have gone right out of it. Here it is.
This is a great graph.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah, you had it on one of your earlier sessions. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's my favorite graph of all time. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm getting there. I'm a bit slow today. All right. So with all this research, having researched travelers for many years, and before COVID, I essentially started specializing in research of the over 50s travel. I'll show you why. Because what I was saying is they were the most profitable, high spending, time rich travelers to focus on. They're great for repeat bookings. They're great for referrals because they'll tell all their friends about you. They're just a really good, solid market to aim for. And I know that many people in the travel industry get seduced by millennials, Gen Z, young people. We see in research how they are inspired to travel by what's on social media. They have high intentions to travel, but when they come to actually booking and spending lots of money on travel, they just don't have the time or the means to do it because they're just not in that place in their lives. When people ask me, oh, but I have, unless you're in a special situation, and Angela, who's with us, she does a lot of the Defence Force. Now, families there get huge travel budgets to spend in their rec time. So there are certain scenarios where this doesn't, or the luxury market, the true luxury market, they've always got plenty of money. But if you're looking for just a solid, reliable growth, double your income, target market over the next 5 to 10 years, the over 50s market are your people. And they're people that you can build a relationship with. Now, Catherine, you're saying people will only come once with you. That's not true. They'll come again if they love it. And I know that India's a place that people really, they fall in love with. I've never been there, but I know people love it. They hate it. They're shocked by it, but there's something strangely compelling that people going back. They're probably going to come and do another. So there's a cohort that will come with you again, and it's more likely to these people that we're going to talk about today. Just open the chat. Yes, you will need new itineraries. Alrighty. So I love these guys because just mentioned all this, less likely to be impacted by the cost of living crisis that we're going through probably for the next few years. I know the young'uns are really hurting. They've got high accumulated wealth, disposable wealth, and wealth that's readily liquidated. And the thing about that is I see in my research and lots of other research, particularly in relation to downsizing. So I dabbled in the downsizing and retirement living sector during COVID. A lot of people in this cohort are selling their houses to enable them to not just downsize, but to travel. So you'll come up against people that say, oh, it's household wealth, it's not cash reserves, but it's pretty easy to sell and sell up quickly, liquidate your assets and go traveling. This is happening more and more. And honestly, good luck to them. And the Gen Xers. So I'm going to show you the Gen Xers a little bit soon.
Oh, that's one behind us.
Yeah. So they're not restricted to school holidays and peak travel periods. In fact, they want to travel outside peak travel periods, particularly domestic travel. they prefer to travel outside of the school holidays. You can reach them through content marketing, which we're going to talk more about tomorrow, because they're spending so many hours, hundreds of hours on the internet and ChatGPT to research. And they're receptive to triggers. And we're going to look at that again after this, the customer journey. So they're receptive to triggers. That means that they're receptive to your marketing and your email, because they're constantly scanning the market for great deals, for inspiration, for hidden gems, and something that's a bit different, something that you've found for them, or something that they haven't thought of before. And they're after a range of premium experience as well. So the high spending travelers, as I mentioned before, they'll go up and down, they'll look for something quirky, unusual, and they're a truly curious set of people. Just going to open up my chat. Oh. Okay. I won't. So now we're never, ever going to be in this position again in terms of having this number of people retiring all at the same time with huge amounts of money to travel. And people will quite often say to me, oh, but there's many millennials now. That's true, but here's why this is so different, targeting the baby boomers. So for those who don't know why there's a big fuss about the baby boomers, who they are, some of you have heard me tell this story before. So the baby boomer generation are called as such because after the World War II ended, all the men from the Western markets, Western world, were fighting the war for many years. So we had men from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, so similarities in Japan, all over Europe and America, went home to their wives and loved ones. So what do you think happened? I call it the big global shag. And the big global shag is evidenced from about here when World War II ends. And so what we can see from this point, so down the Depression era, so this graph, is Australia's birth rate, the number of babies being born each year. So you can see down here in the Depression era, not many babies being born because it was the Depression. We didn't have much food. Women's bodies were skinny and malnourished because there was no healthy food. They couldn't fall pregnant or didn't want to fall pregnant because they couldn't afford to fall pregnant. So no babies. But when World War II ends, you can see this is the baby boom, hence the baby boomers. The reason we will never have this number of people, 3.5 and a bit babies a year ever being born again, is because of the contraceptive pill. And I find Phil loves this. I love this graph so much. The pill was introduced in the late 60s, which meant that women could shag all they wanted without the repercussion of getting pregnant. So it's not just the story of baby boomers, it's a social story of the world, of the Western world. People don't realise the impact that the contraceptive pill had on worldwide population. And you can see it very clearly in this graph, and you'll see it for any country in the Western world, whether it's the US or Europe and Japan, it's the same story world over. So once the pill came on the market, population just goes down. So this is why this is a once in a lifetime marketing opportunity, not just for travel, but for retail, for household goods, for cars and boats and whatnot, whatever they're buying. So it's not just the wealth, it's the volume of people. And so we have here all Gen Xers and millennials being born. We had Peter Costello bringing in the policy of having one for Australia. In my case, I had two for Australia because I had twins. And so I got 2 lots of $5,000, which I might add did not even touch the sides of my life, what they cost. And I didn't get 2 TVs. I could have. But yeah, it's just really interesting to see. So all this big chunk of people are retiring, retired, semi-retired, and they've been dreaming about their travel for the last 30, 40 odd years. So that means they're highly charged, they're excited. It's a really big, high involvement purchase. So here's a little bit more information like that. Another graph that shows you the story. So this is from McCrindle, and if you have a look down here, we've got Gen Y, Gen X, Gen X. So we've got youngers and olders, Gen Xers. I'm a Gen X, and we have the younger boomers, older boomers, and the builder boomers. So we're hearing, okay, Gen Y in the media, there's as many Gen Ys as there is boomers now. But you have a look here, this is the wealth. So this is the percentage of population along here, and this is the average household wealth. So this is where all the household wealth actually sits. So the percentage of national wealth. It's huge. It's huge, isn't it? Look at that. So we've got 55 to 64s at 23%, 26% for the 65 to 74s, and the plus 75s, who we're going to touch on in just a moment, 18%. So Gen Xers, we're creeping up, but this is where the bulk of the wealth and the time sits. So remember, we're talking time and wealth. So most Gen Xers are still working. I know I'll be working for a little while yet, but I also want to double my income in 2025. We're all going to do this together. But yeah, again, it tells that interesting story, and it gets rid of some of the chatter where people say, oh, I need to target families or Gen Y, Gen X. You can see that the ability to spend on travel sits squarely here, and probably increasingly the Gen X, and also the time sits here as well. Now, spending, actually, this isn't to March, it's to November. So this is the most recent. What we call the Commonwealth Bank, what is it called? The CommBank IQ report. What the Commonwealth Bank does is they publish a report quarterly on what households are spending on their credit cards. So if you have a look here, 18 to 29-year-olds, that. A little chat. I'm just going to move something here. I can't. So 18 to 29-year-olds have gone down when it comes to travel. Sorry, that's my phone. It's all happening, isn't it? Let me just turn that off as well. 60 to 69-year-olds went up in travel. But where the gold sits at the moment is the over 70s. So the over 70s are literally spending like they could die tomorrow, which is pretty interesting. So over 60s, over 70s, again, we can see these are the ones that are spending money on travel. They're spending money on retail. Look at that, general retail, with the over 60s in general, over 60s, over 70s, they are increasing their spending. Obviously also on medical and pharmacy. And this is a generation where they'll keep going because there's a pill for that. They'll just easily adapt their travel to, say, if they travel independently before, then they might go over to a coach tour begrudgingly. It's not ideal, but it's either go on a coach tour or stop traveling. And what they tell me in the research is that they just don't want to stop traveling. They love it so much. So they're willing to compromise, if you like, from independent travel to a coach tour, for example. So again, it just tells a really interesting story. So what I want to do is I'm just going to have a look at the comments and stop sharing for a minute and just see if anyone's surprised, or you're probably not surprised because I sprout this all the time and have been for a really long time. Okay. Lots of people commenting. Liz, Gen X and Boomers. Yep, absolutely. They're wonderful. They're easy to deal with. And the thing I find in my research, they've just got such an amazing, joyful outlook on life. And what I love about Boomers is that, and even Gen Xers, myself to an extent, so a few of us here, we travelled before the internet. And so what we used to do in order to go somewhere, in order to research travel, we used to maybe have, I think I had Photos and Frommer's and Lonely Planet. You might have had a friend that suggested you go somewhere, but really, to find out what was at a place, you just have to pop on a plane, go somewhere and walk out the door and ask questions. That's how we're wired. That's how the travellers, the travellers that have been travelling all their lives are wired. And that instills a real sense of adventure into a person, into a traveller, that carries through them for the rest of their life. So because of the internet, we're never going to see that again. So it's almost like now the younger generations will never get to experience that serendipitous nature of travel that we all got to experience. That's a bit sad. And so when you're serving these people and working with them, you've got to remember that they really are adventurous, much more adventurous in spirit and mind and travel than I see in a lot of the younger generations who are quite conservative. So you'll get the younger generation saying, oh, we want immersive travel experiences. And Gen Z, yes, they do, but Boomers and Gen Xers really know what that is already. And they want it again. And they seek that whether they're going on a luxury cruise, I know that sounds strange, or whether they're doing an Intrepid, or whether they're going to Pakistan or doing something completely out there. They want to meet locals. And this goes for domestic travel as well. It's the same story for domestic travel. They want to go where they can meet local people. This is the number one thing that drives all trips. And I see in my research that travellers talk about domestic travel in the outback and country almost like they're experiencing a foreign culture in another country. They seriously do. So if you're selling any domestic product or experiences, they want to actually meet country people, and they're interested in how country folk live, because it is different living in the country to the city. It is different. And that goes all around the world. So in domestic travel, I advise, if you're seeking those experiences, a lot of them would rather just go to the local trivia night or the meat raffle, because that's where the locals go. They often seek things like local theatre groups, for example, because that's where you're going to get a sense of any local culture, both here and overseas as well. So they really have their own little ways of seeking these little bits of adventure and cultural immersive experiences that maybe younger folk don't know how to seek. So this is something that I really see in the differences. And one of the other things that I'm seeing in my research more and more is grandparents taking their grandkids away. And this isn't just my research, it came out in some recent Virgin research as well, is that the grandparents are getting along really well from a travel perspective with the Gen Zs, and they're traveling together, skipping the millennial parents, the helicopter parents, because they're both fairly similar in their outlooks. So that's something really interesting. So if you've got your walking tours or tours to India, There's a possibility there where the grandparents can take the grandkids on intergenerational experiences and skip that whole generation. So it doesn't have to be the whole family. And it's really delightful. They all have a fabulous time. It's really nice. And there's similarities in outlook. So yeah. So Deb, you would sell your house. Oh yeah, I know. Lots of people are doing that, Deb. And can I say, women more and more are doing this. They're selling everything, getting a caravan and going around solo. Gen X is a sweet spot in life. Oh, I'm Gen X. Mine are here, probably asleep in high school, costing me a lot of money. So I was a late starter. Okay. Oh, lots of comments. Yeah, the brochures. Yeah, immersive with comforts. That's exactly, I know. No, that's why glamping's taken off too. Oh, teenagers, tell me about it. Yeah, I'll be gone soon. Suzanne, you know what? I am actually planning my business now. So what we're all doing, so group coaching, so that hubby and I can be digital nomads in 2027. We're planning already the exit. Don't you worry about that. We've got 2 years to go and counting. The only problem is that they're saying to me, oh, yeah, that sounds good. We might come too. No. Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's move on with the opportunities. What are we going to talk to these guys about to tell them that we know stuff, that they'll book with us and, yeah, tell all their friends? Okay. Share. Back to that one. So the hot diggity dog trends from the current slide. So these are probably the key things, the key opportunities I see right now. And these are the trends or the aspects of travel that are really fabulous opportunities and something that we can talk about in our content. And if you're doing any itinerary plans right now, or if you have any accommodation, these are the things that are really going to be good to focus on. And for the people in the program, this is the stuff that we can all pull together, content relating to this stuff to make the most of those opportunities out there. So the long-term planning, always planning, accessible, solo. Wellness, we know wellness is big. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, but there's a catch. It's a secondary driver of travel. And I'll explain that when we get there. Obviously, local, slow tourism and luxury. Long-term planning, and what I've got here is some photos of some of my respondents that I interview that have actually sent me photos along the way. So these guys, I think it was Susan and Andrew. They are planning their trips, 2 to 5 years in advance. So I've talked about this before. They are planning for up to 10 years. It's not unusual. They're planning for cruise. They'll plan for good deals if they see them. They know what they want. They'll have countries on the spreadsheets. They'll plan a variety of experiences. So these guys are looking for, actually, this is Susan. I'm going to introduce Suzanne and Susan. She's looking for walking tours in Europe where she can have wine and food and just walk a few hours a day. She's past the hardcore. And I mentioned Suzanne's tours, and yep, she's interested. So remind me to do that as well. They're a really cool couple. This is them. They spent 6 weeks in Italy. Now, I think I mentioned this yesterday, this extraordinary quote that this woman was planning travel, not just with her husband, but planning for travel for when he dies. This is a direct quote from her. So she's literally planning trips for when he's not there anymore. So when you think they're just slightly interested in travel, they're pretty hardcore. And because the high value travellers are planning long in advance and thinking about travel, they tend to be in a perpetual state of travel research. And that's for all styles, whether it's domestic, international, and they'll have multiple trips on the plan at any one time. As accessible travel and tourism is a biggie. So as these guys move on, get on in life, so does the ability to sometimes get around. Things happen around them. Someone might have a stroke, someone might have a fall. It can be short term, it could be long term. Accessibility is quite a wide thing. So when we think accessibility, we think expensive wheelchairs, adapting infrastructure, if we're accommodation. That's not what it has to be. And that's actually at the very extreme end. So there's different types. So I think this one is a slide potentially from Tourism Britain. What they report, it's more likely a long-term illness. So it might be diabetes related, which means they can't walk for long periods. Sarah, you've probably got a few of these. They might have had cancer on and off throughout the years. Deafness or partial hearing, and Susan, who you just saw a photo of, she wears hearing aids in 2 ears. And I found out all sorts of things that you can Bluetooth through your hearing aids now. So she can do the hearing loop. I never really knew what that was until I spoke to Susan. So you can actually Bluetooth. Remember how we used to have the CD player? Because I've got all my old traveller friends here. They have the CD, the headphones. Susan is Bluetoothing those tours through her hearing aids, which I think is extremely cool. So they're not shrugging the hearing aids. Previous generations were embarrassed. They were willing to suffer. Boomers are like, I don't want to miss out. Give me the hearing aids. I want to hear exactly what's going on. They don't care, which is great. Mobility impairment. So that might be short term. They've had the fall, or they've got a walking stick or something that they need. Blindness and wheelchair users actually represent a really small percentage of accessible travel. And then there's learning difficulties. So you can see here that there's a range of different accessibility issues that go from wheelchairs to deafness. So it's really interesting. So here we have some more of my respondents, my subjects. Julie, that's her in the pool with a cocktail, my kind of travel. So they were going on an Intrepid tour and her sister fell over just before. So this is the tour, the touring sister in a moon boot. So accessible can mean something short term, but happens to be when I'm traveling. So what does all this mean for you? It's just, again, a way of servicing your clients and diminishing any sort of risk associated with booking with you, because staff, or if you've got a tour or accommodation, talk about this stuff. Talk about the ease and ability to get around. If there's pathways that are paved or easy, or if there are bits that have stairs, just knowing about what they're walking into is really helpful to these people who have to navigate places that they've never been to before or never seen. So this is Susan, where she's got the hearing aids, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. So if, for example, you've got your tours going off to Europe or your walking tours, are there museums you are visiting that have any kind of facility to assist the accessible traveller? So make sure that all of that is, I think, Sarah, yours is 70 in 70s and 80s sometimes. This stuff's really helpful. And sometimes the older ones don't want to talk or ask. So it's just really intuitive, especially when they're paying a lot of money to try and put this stuff forward, or discreetly, if you like, in your content. Bob and Judy, they booked a Airbnb in Paris, And Bob, he's pretty good. This guy, Bob, used to climb Everest and mountains all around the world, but they paid a huge amount of money for an Airbnb in Paris that they had to go up 3 flights of stairs. And there was no sign of that, nothing in the text, nothing in the description. It was hard for them to walk up the stairs, and just seeing the anxiousness in Judy's face when they were relaying, all she was worried, she couldn't sleep the night before because all she was worried about is Bob walking down those 3 flights of stairs with their huge suitcases. So it's very real to them. She lost sleep over it. So for something, for us, we don't really think about it, but it's really front of mind for the Bobs and Judys of the world. He made it, but it was stressful. And every day they had to navigate those stairs. So just, again, when you're planning things, you've got to think about this stuff or there. So I'm going to have a break. We'll go on to the next bit in a minute. Catherine, yeah, she's confident. Yeah, she's confident he'll die. It's still like that. It is common. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and Bob and Judy, they're interesting. They used a agent for a lot of their stuff, and they like to book some things by themselves. So here's a case where you can, I shouldn't say pounce on that, but it's a benefit of using an agent. So that's a really good pick up there. Okay, back to it. I'm going to whiz through because, so with the wellness stuff, we all think automatically wellness is a yoga retreat for the weekend or some meditation or something for the entire time. What people talk about in research when it comes to wellness, it's a secondary driver of choice. So only 8% of travellers are travelling for a yoga retreat or a meditation retreat or health and wellness retreat solely for wellness. So what that means is travellers are wanting to incorporate wellness as part of the trip. So thinking about if you've got accommodation, they'll be thinking, where can I go for my morning walk? This generation is really conscious of keeping healthy and fit, even while they're traveling. And this enables them to travel for longer and easily and get up and down off the floor for their grandchildren as well. So thinking about, yeah, any nice parks that are around the hotel, any beaches to go for a walk, any gyms that are in a hotel. I know there's a whole body of research around hotel gyms as well. But anything that you can incorporate, bike riding, for example, is something that they could do around the city. So these are things that are keeping them fit and healthy so that they can go off and drink all the wine and eat the beautiful food at night time. And it's something that comes through. It's a subtle thing, but it's something that is front of mind and they consider actively when they're traveling. And you can see here what are the must-have for wellness. Accessible nature and outdoor activities. So what are you delivering in your product services to ensure that they remain active and healthy? Healthy food options are coming through more, and we're seeing this on cruise. Cruise lines are having a lot more healthy options because we all know that we get off the cruise 5 kilos heavier. Just peace and quiet, like just somewhere to reflect, somewhere that's not noisy, range of fitness activities, and just access to anything like yoga, meditation. So if you're a hotel, if you've got accommodation somewhere, I know I do myself. It would be really useful. We had the old compendiums, but where can I go for my morning walk? Where is a nice walk? Where do the locals go? Is there a yoga session I can attend on the beach at 6 o'clock in the morning that the locals do? Anything like that is really helpful to your ideal traveller. So again, thinking of all the research that they're doing, making sure that you've got that information on your website no matter what you do. Susan is an ocean swimmer and she wanted to incorporate, she went to Sicily. It was all about the food and the wine and all things Sicilian. but she wanted to keep her swimming up. So this is a little picture of her swimming map in Taormina. So I think that's pretty awesome. So yeah, can you swim at the beach? Because we go for the beaches, but what about the fitness options? Can you walk along the beach? Is there a path, a walkway along the beach? Because the beaches might be black pebbles. So we talked a little bit before about going local and going domestic. Solo female travel, it's huge. We've talked a lot about this in the past. It's not always a divorcee or a widower or a widow. It can be a married, it can be a partnered, somebody whose partner just doesn't want to travel anymore or travel at all. So we're seeing this more and more, and we're seeing huge growth in solo travel, and most of them are women. So just gonna have a look here. What do you like in there? Is there anything that you can use and focus on moving forward? In the chat. Ayurvedic spa. Oh, see, that to me, I started reading about that stuff and yeah, love that. What are you thinking? Come on, guys. Solo women. Okay. What about some of that accessible stuff? It's not sexy, but it's going to help you. If you're catering to the older, did you not see those stats, the over 70s? And the over 70s, and it's not just here, it's in America as well. The over 70s are outspending everybody in travel this year. Lifts in hotels, absolutely. So just having that information is power. So if you've got information about the tours, the companies that you prefer, and the considerations that you've made in accessible travel, they're going to go, wow, okay, you've thought about this stuff. So again, it diminishes the risk associated with booking with you. And if they're choosing between 3 accommodation providers, 3 guest houses, and you talk about on your website, not even just, you don't even have to talk about having pictures about every nook and cranny of your hotel or guest house so that they can see and visualize how easy it is to get around. How many steps have you got? That sort of thing is really important. All the tour companies have the ratings of each tour, but it's not enough. They have the ratings, whether it's easy or intermediate, and then they might have a little paragraph on that. It's not enough for these guys. So you can really make your mark and service your ideal client really well with this stuff. Yeah. Okay, Catherine, tell us about your tours, what you're doing.
Oops. Hi again. I guess it's interesting. And in many ways, I think I'm turning 60 this year, by the way. So I'm probably the oldest here.
Oh, no.
I have designed our tours. Oh, did you? Not by much, I bet, Philip. But I've designed them based on how I like to travel, in all honesty. And the experiences I like having, and a little bit of luxury, and I need downtime, I need time for reflection. If I'm in a beautiful hotel, I don't want to be out at 8 in the morning and back at 8 at night exhausted. I want to hang out by the pool, maybe have a cocktail, read a book, all of the things. So I guess what I'm seeing in your research is, and it was proven when we were in business pre-COVID, but I've lost a lot of confidence since then. So it's been a nice confidence booster to realize that I'm already hitting a lot of those key things that you are saying people, as that target market, which for us has always been, like, we've had a couple of men on our trips, but it's been predominantly women.
Sometimes, and there's a few men, yeah.
Sometimes as 3 or 4 girlfriends traveling together, that sort of thing. But yeah, just realizing, but also highlighting for me the things that I can use in our marketing to make sure people realize that we are offering all these things that it seems that a lot of people are looking for.
It's really important.
including
And
the
you've got to,
wellness aspect. Yeah.
what's that? The wellness. Yeah.
Including the
Oh, I
wellness
love
as a
that. I love that you
secondary
have the, how do you pronounce that?
aspect.
Ayurveda or
Ayurveda.
Ayurveda?
Ayurveda. So it's akin to the Chinese medicine. Like for
Yes.
India, it's a 5,000-year-old.
I love it. I've been reading a bit about it actually. And that to me, I
Yes.
went, oh yeah, that'd be really good.
Right.
And then I can go off and have some really nice Indian food and,
Yes.
eat myself silly.
Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
do now. So it's the best of all worlds.
Yeah. And the slow
Absolutely.
travel, I love that slow travel has come
Yeah.
up because my trips before COVID were what I considered slow.
Yeah.
To be honest, since COVID and since going back and spending 3 months in India again earlier this year to decide whether we wanted to follow this path again, I realized that even what I was doing before wasn't slow enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I've
that's
slowed it
true.
right down. And I do 4-night stays in every city, less
I
destinations.
love that. I love that because somewhere like India is hectic and emotionally
It is.
draining
It's
and
so much.
wonderful.
So you really need time to be able to step back from that. And as a travel agent, I had many customers, not that I had booked, but customers who went to India once and never went again because they got dumped in Delhi on day one. And yeah, that's definitely not our philosophy. You have to approach it slowly and
And
gently and ease yourself in. And yeah,
it's literally an immersion, isn't it?
it is.
It
Yeah.
really is. So this has been a heavy session. What I'm going to do is we'll have another little break, another 10-minute break. Is that all right? I'm going to show you. So tomorrow we're going to have a lot of doing, but the research is really important. And I know it's a lot. It's pretty heavy, but it'll give you ideas and opportunities that you've never had before. Are you feeling that? Yep. So you're not, no, Narelle. What do you say? What do you?
Yeah, I'm okay. The note was about the age. That was age.
I know. I went, oh, what have I done?
No, I'm all in. I'm all good.
Oh, you're over 60.
We're
all mature women and bloke.
Yeah.
Making our mark.
That's right. We've worked hard to get here.
We are coming with the depth of experience that we all have in this room. I don't know how old most people are, but I get the sense we're all a bit experienced.
Yes.
I feel personally that I can probably achieve more now than I have ever before.
Yeah.
Does anyone else feel like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we appreciate the knowledge that we do have.
We don't.
Because we're probably always still trying to learn.
Yeah.
Always seeking improvement. So most of us have come a long way. So
I think so. And we have such a depth of knowledge and wisdom. And in travel, in our industry, it's really important to have that depth and experience. And we just need to tell people about it. So that is what tomorrow, we can start creating content.
True.
Tomorrow. So what I can do now is just very quickly take you through the customer journey. Or do you want a break? So if you want a break, type 1. If you want to just go into it for the next 20 minutes or so, type 2. 1 for break, 2 for 20. One for break, 2 for, 2. Cool, we'll just go for it. We'll go flat out. Sorry, Suzanne. Oh, hang on, what was 1? What was 2? I've forgotten. We're just going for it, aren't we? Oh, God, my mind. I promise you I'll be better tomorrow. I'll get more sleep, have more coffee. Let's get into it. Now, I've got to find the right one. Doesn't help that I have 2 of the one. Just give me a minute. No, that's all right. I'm pretty okay. I can just talk through this. Thank you. It is quite exhausting talking for all this time. So after this, what I did yesterday is I finished this and just went and stared at the ceiling for half an hour. On my bed, I went, oh God. I love talking anyways, in case you haven't noticed, but yeah. Even for me, I'm committed to you guys. Me too. I think you guys need to make me accountable too. Because I feel like I'm with friends. Here we go. Alrighty. The customer journey. Now, with the customer journey, it's something that I mentioned yesterday has evolved over, I guess, the last 15 years or so, and largely driven by people's usage of the internet. And really, when the sort of back in the 90s, the customer journey was, I can actually remember in the Qantas Travel Centre when I worked in retail in Qantas Collins Street. It was pre-internet, and people would come in, you'd have your brochure room, they'd collect a whole heap of brochures, go home, maybe do a bit of shopping around, book some more to travel agents, come back in, get their quotes, go home, come back in. And that was all triggered by seeing an ad in the Sunday papers, or someone had just come back from somewhere. It was pretty simple. I actually remember the people I served, the first time I heard about the internet were this mum and son, like a really, obviously a tech head son, came in with all these printed out pages of this from the internet, this thing called the internet, and it was Disney. So I remember Disney was one of the first travel products that we ever saw on the internet. And I really back then didn't even understand it. But since then, things have changed and we have grasped the internet incredibly. So there's actually 8 stages. I've got an old graph here because I like to talk about when people come home, that is also a golden opportunity. So just starting from 1, people are dreaming about travel all the time. They're thinking about it. So these are the high value travelers. Think about where they're going to go. They're reading about it. And it goes as deep as, still coming through in my research, there was the book, Peter Mayle, A Year in Provence. People still talk about that book today that read it back in the 90s. So again, this is just how deep people have been thinking about Provence since they read that book. And they've always planned to go there. So there's such highly charged memories and plans and dreams that they all have of travel. And the real travelers, the hardcore guys, have been planning this time for years and years. So, kids put a real dampener and a stop to international travel. So it stops for quite a few years. You just travel in a different manner domestically, most of us. The dream of travel doesn't stop. Again, this is why content becomes so important. They're reading about travel, they're reading blogs, they all talk about getting the Sunday papers. Still, none of us here can afford to be in the Sunday papers, but this is how it works at the moment, and this is to your advantage because we are smaller. So they're dreaming about travel, and then what happens is that something will trigger them from dreaming about it into planning and actively start thinking, we might get some airfare quotes. We might think about what time, might think about getting some time off work, whatever it is. And that trigger might be an email that popped in. The number of times I've heard it was an email that popped into my inbox that made me think about that. It can be a loss leader. It can be any email. They may not book what they originally popped into the inbox, but it's something that sparked, oh, I'm going to go from dreaming into planning. It can be stuff that was in the Sunday papers. So they look for inspiration. It could be on a TV ad. So what we're seeing is that there's a lot of triggers out there, and that's why I want you to focus on email as a trigger, because you can control the trigger based on the trends and the interests that I just talked about. Okay, so just say, for example, the trigger is a Viking ad or something that a big ad, someone's taken a big ad out, or they've checked the papers, they've read some editorial in the papers or got a magazine. What is happening, and this is not just my own, but it's the latest Google research as well, is that they'll go that the trigger will work, so the ad will work. So Viking, and I'm only just giving this as an example because Viking are quite good with their content. They'll go to that website, whether it's scenic or a cruise line. What happens is that these big brands are spending millions and millions of dollars on ads, and they secretly want the traveller to book direct with them. That is their strategies at the moment. But they're falling down because they're spending their millions of dollars on these beautiful ads, and there's full page ads or TV ads. But when the customer goes to the website is scant, or it's boring, or it says the same as all the other cruise sites. I don't know if you've had a good look at cruise sites, cruise aggregator sites. They're all the same. And because of ChatGPT, and all these guys use big advertising and marketing agencies that don't use research, all the content sounds the same. So they're pumping out content and information with hidden gems just over and over, no matter what brand you are. So it's killing the brands. So the travelers are going from the ad to the internet, going, where can I find what they've just showed me? There's no landing page. There's no big button saying, here's the ad you just saw on TV, click. They're confused. In a few seconds, we know that 50%, I think it's around 57% of those people will go off and start going down the Google rabbit hole. And this is where your Google rabbit hole and your content will convert them. And this is where your email might convert them as well. This is why you need to be emailing them all the time to remind them that you're there, remind them that you're adding value, that you've got something for them, and then you can service them better than what the ad showed. There's a huge opportunity for all of us now is to create that really helpful, useful, meaningful, and relevant content for our ideal travelers. We're going to talk about you being the trigger. And what I'll do, I think we've got dreaming. So here's some quotes that I have of what people have been triggered by. The top one, this respondent was triggered by Bette Midler playing Dolly in Hello Dolly. So she planned an entire 6-week trip around Bette Midler playing Dolly in Hello Dolly. I'm serious. So it comes down to this sort of stuff. Invitations from friends to travel about them, cheap airfare deals that come by email, and they may come through, but more often than not, they are not booking that thing that came through. Does that make sense? So it's just providing them a trigger to go down the Google rabbit hole. It's really interesting and not straightforward, unfortunately. So here are some of the things that you can do. Limited time deals. Those weekly emails are really important. From going from 0 to weekly, I guarantee you will get a lot more bookings. Notable fun events. So for India, there's interesting festivals all the time. There's beautiful stories. There's, for all the tours that you've got going, there's got to be books associated, authors, all sorts of things. Milestone campaigns, anniversaries, birthdays, and these are really good because often they're intergenerational trips as well. Here's one that I love. This came through in research. Curry, what is it? Curry Fest. It's in Woolgoolga. So I had a respondent once who said her friend, or she'd read about Curry Fest in Woolgoolga, and she was going to plan, and she lived in Melbourne. She was going to plan an entire road trip to Woolgoolga, which is northern New South Wales, around the Curry Fest. So it's not just the Curry Fest, it's the whole, everything around Curry Fest. So these funny little quirky things are triggers. So that's why you've got to remind people all the time about awesome festivals. People travel for festival and events all the time. It's like the cornerstone of their trip. And as we've been talking about in our group, boomers and Gen Xers will travel for really cool music festivals and they'll pay big money. So think about Woodstock and Coachella or even alternative versions of those. And I know Phil looks at promoting his music cruises as well. So music people will travel for music. Planning. Now, this is where most of your work will sit. So I'm just going to focus on these two because this is what we're going to go forth with tomorrow. We're going to look at creating all the content to help them plan once they are triggered into planning. So they're going to be triggered by you and they're going to be planning with the help of you online and with your face-to-face help. So if you think of the planning, it's like an upside down pyramid or a funnel where they go into a hunter-gatherer stage where they'll just gather so much information if they're focusing on this one trip. And then they'll just get rid of stuff more and more. So going down from the pyramid over time, if you're a travel agent, they might come to you down here, having gone through all the other stuff, and they'll come to you because they know that you're going to give them more value and more information and your point of view about places and things and suppliers and so forth. So again, have a look at these quotes direct from their mouths. And I love this word down here, the best authentic deal. So that's not just price, it's value. It's a whole range of things. And you need to know at this time of their life, they're not price driven so much. Sometimes they are, but they understand value. Another thing that you need to realize is that these people have been advertised to for 50 plus years. They've been around. So while if you're part of, for example, an umbrella travel brand or a group, and they're sending out their generic emails to everybody Australia-wide, that's really boring. They want the emails from you because they're curated by you. This is your service. This is what you're doing for them. And it's part of your brand, your personal and your business brand. It's all here content. So we strive to make it evergreen. Don't date your content. And this is some of the big brands. I see it. They ask you just for a basic brochure these days. They want to have an email address. I'm all for the lead magnet, giving the email address, but not just for a basic brochure. Don't make it hard for them. Getting their email address should be an exchange, an equal exchange. So I'll give you something of value because you're giving me something of value, not if you want this brochure, you have to give me your email address. So content marketing is, again, satiating that demand, diminishing the risk associated with booking with you. But it's also awesome for Google. So luckily for us, Google and humans like the same thing. And then booking. So this is something I won't focus on too much. So you can see to get to booking, to get to the actual booking stage, there's months and years. It's not just about the booking. The booking is just one small part. The next bit, which is a huge lost opportunity that most people do not focus on, is the anticipation. So from the moment they book, this is when they want to have some sort of reassurance that they've done the right thing. but it's also the most excited time they're ever going to be about the trip. So that growing excitement means it's a great time to do any upselling. It is the best time for you if you want to sell more travel, or if you want to sell tours or add-ons or any commissionable product, or any special offers that you have if you're accommodation or touring, any side trips. This is the best time to sell it, and do it fairly quickly, because this is the time that they crave a relationship with you and the brand, because they want to be assured that they've done the right thing. And most people just step back at this point. So it's a great opportunity for you to really cement that relationship that you have with your client, because they want to form a greater relationship at this point in time. So the temptation's there to sit back, go, yeah, I've made the sale, but this is when they want to hear from you the most. Yeah, so upsells. And one thing that I think works really nicely is your own little personal picks and local insights as well. Maintaining your content, preparation checklists. This is the time they will read everything that comes from you. Absolutely everything. Yeah, just ramp it up if you can. En route, this is when people are the most nervous. So when they're going from their home to the airport, when they're in transit. So there's various things that we can do there. And then when they're in destination, so this is again when they start ramping it up again in terms of looking for information. So again, this is something, once you've nailed your triggers and your planning, and this is something we're going to do in the first 90 days, we'll look at the anticipation and in destination stage. And post-trip sharing. So this is something that I've added on because this is going to be great for repeats and referrals. You need to encourage them to share their experiences that they've had with you, their trips. Make sure they've got hashtags. We need to look at doing surveys to see how they felt, surveys. And I also think this is a really great time to get their point of view of their experiences. Do they have any little secrets? Because people, they love talking about this stuff. They love getting advice. So having your own little almost interview off the back, get them to come in if they're coming in, or give them a call, go through a 1 hour Zoom where they can talk about the highlights and lowlights. And again, this is just forging your relationship. I think to get in the habit of having a little Zoom or a meeting off the back of a trip is a really great thing to do to get them to book more as well. So it just forges that relationship. And again, they're paying for a quality service, booking through you. They're willing to do if you take on their feedback and implement anything that they've given you. So there we go. I will stop sharing. Yeah, Phil, you're right. Oh, really? Yeah. Penang Great Lakes, because Anne of Green Gables. I know. No, I don't know if I've told you my story when I went to Disneyland, that same trip where we did the Pacific Drives. When I went on the teacups, I actually started crying because of the emotional, how we, it's like by surprise. I was with my 3 kids in primary school. I started crying, going, on the teacups. And it was like these years and years of wanting to go to see the teacups. I was finally there. It was just, oh my God. But this is how emotional that whole thing is when you're dreaming about these things for your whole life. You really need to appreciate that. I don't think when we're in the operational stages of trying to service everything and you lose sight of that what we're doing for people is delivering dreams. We're not just travel agents. We're not just booking tours. We are dream makers. That is amazing. So the 2 most exciting things or biggest things that they're going to do on retirement is either downsizing and their travels. They're the 2 biggest purchases. So guys, the opportunities are there. You've just got to see beyond what you do every single day in the daily grind. Yeah, Viking, what can I say? Excellent. Yes, we can. We can put this into a spreadsheet that you don't meet. So so what specifically, do you want the customer journey or just everything?
No, not the customer journey per se, but the more practical step when you were just going through that last section and that, say, the anticipation bit, that's where I know I tend to forget to
You could
keep in
make some
touch
big
with it.
sales.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a way, because I've got some issues with focus and what have you. I need a checklist, or
Yep.
because
can
I just
do.
forget. I just totally forget. And it's, oh my God, a week ago I was going to do this. So I'm thinking if there's something where we can list those things to do along the way that are going to help us increase sales or TTV or something.
Great idea.
It'd be a really useful tool for us as travel agents.
Okay.
The various,
and the other opportunity is like a little Zoom meeting when they get back, even for
yeah,
the tours.
Yeah, I like that. I hadn't even thought about that.
Just, what did you love? What can we do better? What did, and it's what I do in research. So I can also do a checklist of questions for you to ask as a researcher.
that would actually be really helpful.
Yeah. So when they all get back, automate, you've got to book a Zoom with Mr. and Mrs. Smith and talk to them about
I'd pay
their
good
trip.
money. I'd pay good money for these things.
That's it. That's
So
it.
that's another add-on for you, maybe.
It's an add-on for me. I'm going to include it as a value add.
Oh,
as long as you
thank
tell
you.
all your friends to come and join.
We will. But no, that would actually, because there's a lot of courses out there, as you say. You need to focus on one, and you can pick up a spreadsheet here and a tool there, but I don't think there's anybody out there where offering these tools that would just almost like a booster pack for us to really elevate everything for us and make things simpler. Like I keep buying planners and things, and it needs to be on my laptop because that's where I'm working.
Yeah. And that's something I'm doing at the moment too, is that, I've got all these planners and books that I need to transfer my notes into my laptop because that's where I'm working. But I write everything down too. So I'm being too, makes us all scatty, doesn't
Do
it?
you use a CRM, Sarah?
Sorry?
Do you use a CRM?
No, I just signed up to HubSpot, but I hadn't actually started, and I've decided not to now after what people have said.
Yeah, right.
But I used to actually, when I worked at Flight Centre years ago, my favorite thing was using was it EWS they called it? I can't remember what that stood for, but it was where you actually ticked boxes and put in the contacts that you'd had with clients and this sort of thing. So if you weren't there, somebody else could go into it and see what the last communications were. And I feel a bit lost without having something like that. So
that's what a CRM, that's what a good CRM does. And that's what
I had looked at Trello. Yeah, I might have to revisit.
Yeah, the one that your traveling cruise actually has a reminder system. So you can actually automate those reminders at the end of their visit.
Actually, Flight Centre had a text thing you could set up as well in advance. But I can't remember what that was called. So there's a lot we can automate, but I don't know how to go about it.
There's ClickUp. Debbie, I've just started using ClickUp as a project management, but the CRM system, and I'm actually thinking, because we all have this problem, even I have a problem. I've landed on one called Go High Level, and I am thinking of creating an agency. And the thing with this thing is I can create the templates for you. I can create the processes for you.
Yeah.
And you just go in and you say what you want to do.
That'd be perfect.
I've talked about this before. I just need to nail this, and then I'm going to go. I think I'm going to actually go through and do this.
That would. My postman's here. I'm just going to. Won't be a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an obvious next step for you, Bronwyn, is to have a whole service delivery around your whole customer journey thing. The systems.
I think I'm going to have to, Phil. Because we're all in the same boat, and I feel there's a massive hole. Even if you're working with a travel group, It's something that should be included, because I know with Go High Level, it does all those things. It does my emails. I have my website sitting on there. I can do my tasks. I can do my sales opportunities. I get alerted when I've got a task to do. Like you said, you can actually set up little tasks for yourself. You can set up sales opportunities, little reminders. So it's got the sales bit as well as the marketing bit. And I can keep my course in there as well.
Yeah.
Resources, and it's got my website. It's got everything.
Because
So
I've
I
wasted so
am
much money. I've wasted so much money on subscriptions to Notion, Motion, Travify. I had so many things going, Trello, and I just got distracted and didn't use them. So I was just throwing money away. So
yeah, we've all done that.
just
And that's
need-
the tyranny of choice. We've got to really focus on prospecting and where the opportunities lay.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking about all that, just think to yourself, I need to spend 4 hours a day in creating content and getting clients.
Yeah.
That's what I've decided to do. And I know through some of the training that I do with other people, some of the coaching, the number one thing that will make your money and double your income is that whole prospecting and finding clients. And for you, it's the retirement villages. You're still doing that?
Yeah, but I'm moving away from it. If anybody wants to ask me about it, there's it's a bit of a long story, but don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, which you did last year.
Because I got very, not complacent, but like I was looking after about a third of the retirement village, but then the government changed the legislation and competitors were allowed to come in, and some people don't work in the same way as you. Some people are very ruthless.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're always at risk if you have your clients all living in the same place. Don't do it.
Oh yes, they're known for it, aren't they? Retirement villages. They're like,
oh, and they're just, yeah. Anyway, long story, not a good one, but no, I'm still obviously going to have customers in retirement villages, but
yeah,
focusing so narrowly is not a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. We've done a lot today. It's been a heavy session. Tomorrow's going to be all about doing. So make sure you come in tomorrow with your ChatGPT, a fair idea of your goals. It's really important. Try and get 10 down. And we're going to visit them every single day. And in my group, if you want to come and join us, or we're going to visit them every single week. We are going to be accountable to these goals every single week on a Thursday at 10 o'clock in our coaching call. We are going to start with, and what I have developed is a framework to track our numbers. So we are going to be accountable to numbers, like I'm accountable to numbers in my business. How many inquiries am I getting? How many bookings am I getting each week? How many more do I need to have each week to get to my goal? Does anyone do this presently?
No.
Jane, awesome. What are you doing at the moment, Jane? Fill us in. I'd love to hear.
I have a really simple tick list, so I know what my commission is, and it's really simple. Actually, it's here somewhere, and I've got heaps of them printed out, and it's just like a little tick list, and I just tick it off where I'm going, so I know each month and each day I know a rough daily amount that I need to earn to get to my list, like
awesome.
To get to where I want to go. Yeah.
And that's where we all want to be. We want to know daily, each day, what we have done to get closer to our goal, our big goal.
I have a Word document, I have an Excel document on Google that's there every day, and it's all my forward commissions, when the commission's going to come in, so I can tell I've got X hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in. So that was helpful yesterday with that exercise, because you asked us to look at what we had. So the new goal, I've got a third of that already sitting there, potentially, if they all settle. So maybe I need to make it higher.
I actually think you need to make it higher. I want you to double it.
Got a third there. So
double the goal.
Yeah, but at least I can see, and I know when that's going, when they finalise that's going down, that if I'm always plugging in the forward commissions. That's how I do it.
That's awesome.
Mm.
And I'm serious when I say double the goal to everybody. Double it. Because we're all conservative. I want you to have a stretch goal. Okay? Just dream big. Because by dreaming big, you're going to know what you have to do every day to get there. And you'll be reminded. So every morning I sit down with this pen and paper, do the original on pen and paper. Every morning I sit down and write down my 10 goals every single morning. I pick out that one big goal and I go, what are 3 things I'm going to achieve today to get me closer to that goal? 3 things that I'm going to tick off. And when you break that big goal into daily goals, it just happens. Do you know what, Suzanne? I'm a bit the same. You know how there's all those people I missed sending those reports out? No, Ellen. I've got it there, I know. Sometimes it's just what happens. We're really great at telling everyone else what to do. But yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. All right, guys, thank you so much for staying with us the whole time. This is absolutely awesome because it has been a really heavy day. But I wanted to make sure that you got the latest research. I wanted you to see the numbers because everything we do is evidence-based. It's not on guesswork, but you can see now where the money sits and more importantly, where the time sits. And that's the sort of thing that we're targeting. And that's what's going to get us to our end goal. So thanks, everybody. And we'll see you same bat time tomorrow.
Thanks, Bron.
Thanks, Bronwyn. See you.